Khalid ibn al Walid, the Sword of Allah, was a brilliant war planner whose military operations transformed the nascent Islamic empire. For his spectacular battle skills, Khalid's victories over superior forces are considered among the brightest and most daring feats ever. His leadership opened new ways for the early Muslim forces, positioning him at the centre of their fights against two of the strongest powers of the time, the Byzantine and Persian empires. In 629 CE, Khalid faced his first major challenge in the Battle of Mu'tah. The Muslim forces fought against the Byzantines after the governor of Palestine, who was controlled by the Byzantines, had ordered their killing. In response, a group of about 3,000 Muslim fighters were sent to Mu'tah, now in present-day Jordan. Khalid was in this force, but not in command at the time. The Byzantine forces numbered approximately 100,000 soldiers, including heavy cavalry and archers. In this battle, 3 of the Muslim commanders died early on. Khalid managed the situation effectively, even though he faced an enemy 30 times stronger than his. Against these odds, Khalid came up with a clever plan to retreat, instructing his soldiers to change formation repeatedly, wave more flags, and make it appear as if reinforcements had arrived. This smart trick confused the Byzantines, allowing the Muslim soldiers to withdraw safely. Even though it wasn't a victory, Khalid's strategy saved his men and earned him the title the Sword of Allah from the Prophet Muhammad himself. In 632 CE, after the death of the Prophet Muhammad, Abu Bakr became the first caliph. He faced a divided Arabian peninsula. Many tribes rejected Islam, so Khalid was chosen to lead the Ridda Wars to regain control over them. The toughest battle during this time was the Battle of Yarmouk, where Khalid fought against Musaylima, a proclaimed prophet who gathered thousands of followers. Musaylima's army was significantly larger than Khalid's, with approximately 40,000 troops, mostly infantry and archers. Khalid's force was around 13,000. The fighting was brutal and required close combat. Khalid's determination and skill were crucial. He repositioned his forces, focused attacks on key areas, and broke through Musaylima's lines, eventually killing him. The victory at Yarmouk restored the Caliphate's authority in Arabia and concluded the Ridda Wars, making Khalid a notable military leader. After uniting the Arabian Peninsula, Caliph Abu Bakr focused on the empires near the newly unified land. Khalid's victories in Arabia made him the ideal person to lead the Muslims into Persia. His campaign began with the Battle of Chains in 633 CE, where he faced Hormuz, a well-known Persian leader famous for using chained formations. The Persian forces likely numbered around 40,000, including armoured infantry and war elephants, whereas Khalid led approximately 18,000 soldiers, mainly light cavalry and infantry. Khalid's men were fewer and less equipped, but he spotted weaknesses in the Persian lines and ordered his men to strike at the openings in the chained units. Khalid's forces outsmarted and defeated the Persians, and Hormuz was killed in close combat. This victory boosted Khalid's army's confidence and worried the Persian defenders. His win at Chains helped the Muslims move further into Mesopotamia. Continuing his campaign, Khalid again faced the Persian forces at the Battle of Walaja. Khalid was again greatly outnumbered, but he skillfully used a double envelopment maneuver similar to Hannibal at Cannae. The Persian army had roughly 50,000 soldiers, primarily heavy infantry and archers, while Khalid's forces numbered around 15,000, with a significant number of skilled cavalry. He made his troops look weak to trick the Persian soldiers, then surrounded them from both sides. The Persian troops were caught by surprise and defeated, securing the area for the Muslims. The battle showed that Khalid could think ahead, predicting his enemies' moves and using their large numbers against them. By mid-633 CE, Khalid's forces reached Firaz, where the remaining Persian, Byzantine and Arab Christian forces joined to stop him, and as is his way, he faced a much larger enemy force. The coalition had around 60,000 troops, while Khalid led 15,000 soldiers. Khalid successfully used the riverbanks to limit his enemies' movements, forcing them into a smaller area where their large numbers worked against them. With quick attacks, Khalid's troops broke through the coalition army, achieving another great win that marked the end of the Persian resistance in Iraq. Khalid had largely crushed Persian power after the Battle of Firaz, securing the eastern borders of the growing state. After these campaigns in Persia, Caliph Abu Bakr ordered Khalid to focus on Syria and confront the Byzantine Empire. In one of the toughest times in his career, Khalid led his troops on a grueling 6-day march across the Syrian desert with limited water. With roughly 10,000 cavalry and a few thousand infantry, he braved extreme heat and scarce resources. This was a risky journey, but Khalid planned carefully to keep his men safe. He stored water in camels and had his men travel by night to conserve energy. This bold move allowed him to surprise Byzantine forces at the border and launch his campaign in Syria. Khalid's arrival in Syria revitalized the Muslim army. In 634 CE, he defeated a massive Byzantine army led by Theodore Tritharius at the Battle of Ajnadain. The Byzantines assembled around 70,000 soldiers, including heavy infantry, cataphracts, armoured cavalry, and archers, while Khalid's forces numbered around 25,000, mostly light cavalry and mobile infantry. The Byzantine army was strong, with many foot soldiers and armoured horsemen. Khalid, however, knew the land well and motivated his troops effectively. He planned a campaign that combined direct attacks with encircling maneuvers, breaking through the Byzantine lines and causing them to retreat in confusion. The victory at Ajnadain led to other wins in Syria, further weakening Byzantine power. One of Khalid's most famous battles was in Syria, where he laid siege to and eventually captured Damascus. The city was an important Byzantine stronghold, well defended and crucial to the empire's control of the area. The Muslim forces, numbering around 20,000, laid siege to a Byzantine garrison of about 15,000 soldiers. Khalid led the Muslim forces in surrounding the city gates, cutting off reinforcements and supplies. He set up a base at Bab Shaki, the eastern gate, and personally led the assault. They eventually broke through the city's defences, and after a long battle, Damascus was captured. As a sign of respect, the people of Damascus were promised safety in terms of their lives, property, and churches. Taking Damascus showcased Khalid's skill as a fighter, but more importantly, as a planner who understood the value of stable rule. Khalid's greatest victory was the Battle of Yarmouk in 636 CE. This was one of the most important battles between the Muslims and the Byzantine Empire. The Byzantines assembled a massive army. Estimates suggest it numbered between 80,000 to 150,000 soldiers, including a significant force of heavy cavalry, infantry and archers, led by prominent commanders like Vahan. Khalid's army was once again much smaller, estimated between 20,000 to 40,000, composed of swift cavalry and experienced infantry units. Despite his disadvantage, Khalid arranged his soldiers into flexible groups suited to rough terrain near the Yarmouk River. Over 6 days, Khalid's strategic plan took place. He divided his army into units, assigning each a specific role to counter Byzantine attacks. He moved his forces constantly to respond to Byzantine strikes, demonstrating impressive skill and control. On the last day, Khalid launched a major attack on the sides of the Byzantine army, forcing them back towards the cliffs of the Yarmouk River. Thousands of Byzantine soldiers fell over the edge, dealing a huge blow to the Byzantine Empire. The Battle of Yarmouk was a decisive victory that shattered Byzantine control in Syria, allowing the Muslim forces to advance further. After Yarmouk, the Muslim army moved on to Jerusalem. The Byzantine leaders there recognized they faced a skilled and determined opponent, so they agreed to surrender, only to Caliph Omar ibn al-Khattab himself. Omar then travelled from Medina to accept the city's surrender, arriving humbly in simple clothes on a camel. Entering Jerusalem with Khalid and other commanders, Omar received the city's keys from Christian leader Sophronius. The surrender terms guaranteed the safety of Jerusalem's people and their places of worship. Sophronius asked Omar to pray in the Church of the Holy Sepulchre as a sign of respect. However, Omar declined and chose to pray outside to ensure the church would not later be turned into a mosque. This decision showed his tolerance for other religions, and later the Muslims built the Al-Aqsa Mosque nearby, making it one of Islam's holiest places. Although Khalid was highly successful, his growing fame caused tension in the caliphate. Caliph Omar feared that Khalid's popularity might challenge his own authority, so he removed Khalid from command. Although disappointed, Khalid continued to serve loyally under his successor, Abu Ubaidah, showing his dedication to the caliphate and Islamic unity. After many years of hard work, Khalid retired and settled down in the city of Homs in Syria. Khalid ibn al Walid died in Homs in 642 CE. Looking back on his life, Khalid expressed regret that he had not died a martyr, saying, "I have fought in so many battles seeking martyrdom that there is no spot on my body left without a scar or wound from a spear or sword. And yet here I am, dying on my bed like an old camel. I hope the cowards never find peace." This statement reflects the fighting spirit that defined Khalid's life, showing a deep commitment to his faith and a willingness to sacrifice everything for it. By the end of Khalid's military career, the Muslim Empire had expanded greatly, stretching from Persia in the east to Syria in the west. His victories played a crucial role in building an empire that would continue to grow. His strategic brilliance and willingness to lead in battle made him one of history's greatest military leaders, leaving a lasting impact on the history of Islam and military tactics. Khalid ibn al Walid stands as a powerful example of courage, careful planning, and dedication to a mission. His story shows how one person can shape history. What do you think of Khalid's remarkable achievements? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more in-depth looks at history's greatest leaders.